Hercules, the most famous hero in Greek and Roman mythology. Today, I'll tell you how Hercules was born. Hercules was born to Zeus and Alcmene. Alcmene was married to Amphitryon. Zeus was completely smitten with Alcmene, who already had a husband, and kept gazing at her with admiring eyes. Even though he already had many wives, he coveted another woman. While Alcmene's husband, Amphitryon, was away at war, Zeus transformed himself into Amphitryon's likeness. Then, in this disguised form, he went to Alcmene. Poor Alcmene. She never dreamed it could be Zeus in disguise. She thought her beloved husband, Amphitryon, had returned alive. Alcmene was completely captivated by Zeus's charm. She spent the night with him and conceived his child that very night. A few days later, the real Amphitryon returned home. Alcmene spent another night with the real Amphitryon. Thus, Alcmene became pregnant with both Zeus's child and Amphitryon's child at the same time. As time passed, the beautiful Alcmene gave birth to two great sons. The children born then were Hercules, son of Zeus, and Iphicles, son of Amphitryon.
From this day forth you shall be called Hercules.
When Hercules was born, Zeus named him Heracles. In Greek, this means the glory of Hera, for Zeus wished Hera to take pride in him. Zeus sought to grant Heracles immortality. He brought the infant to the sleeping Hera and let him suckle at her breast. For drinking the milk of Hera, queen of the gods, bestows eternal life. But when Heracles sucked too hard, Hera startled awake and pushed him away. The milk spilled into the night sky, becoming the Milky Way. Hera truly hated baby Hercules, born to Zeus and another woman. Finally, when Hercules was 8 months old, Hera resolved to send 2 small snakes to kill him. Alcmene heard Iphicles' screams coming from the children's room and rushed over. There she saw Hercules playing with the 2 snakes, holding them in his hands. Strong even as a child, Hercules could grasp both snakes tightly at once and kill them. After overcoming that first difficult ordeal, Hercules grew into a powerful young man. The grown Hercules went to aid Thebes when the kingdom of Orchomenus was tormenting them. As a reward for his valor, he won the hand of Megara, Thebes' beautiful princess, as his wife. Hercules was the luckiest man in the world. He lived happily with Megara and had 2 sons. Hera watched this unfold and grew spiteful once more. So she cursed him.
Now your wife will appear as a lion, and your children as hyenas.
It was a truly tragic day for Hercules, who mistook his beloved wife and children for lions and hyenas. He killed them all. But Heracles soon came to his senses and was utterly horrified by what he had done. So Heracles went to the temple of Apollo, truly regretting his actions, and asked what he must do to right the situation. Then the oracle spoke.
Go to King Eurystheus and do whatever he demands of you.
His grandfather was Perseus, who, thanks to Hera's cunning scheme, had once become king of Mycenae in Hercules' place. King Eurystheus feared Hercules greatly and imposed upon him 12 labors that seemed impossible for any human to accomplish. I'll tell you about those 12 labors next time. Eurystheus ordered Hercules to capture the Nemean lion as his first task. This lion was a very special creature. It possessed thick hide that neither sword nor arrow could pierce. Eurystheus smiled slyly, thinking Hercules would be killed by the lion. Hercules, completely unaware of the danger, headed toward the cave to hunt the lion. Seeing the lion right outside the entrance, he felt a little uneasy. He shot an arrow from a distance. Oh no! The arrow bounced right off. Poor Hercules was truly flustered. He tried again, but the arrow still wouldn't penetrate.
What kind of lion is this? My weapons don't seem to work. What should I do now?
After a moment's thought, Hercules decided to subdue the lion by force. He strapped a club to his waist, used a boulder to block one of the cave's 2 entrances, cutting off the lion's escape route, then entered through the other entrance. The moment he stepped into the cave, he faced the lion's imposing form. Hercules and the lion stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. Then, in the blink of an eye, he sprang up, struck the lion several times with his club, and began to strangle it with his bare hands. Hercules hung on to the lion's back for a very long time, choking its neck, and only then managed to subdue it. The next morning, Hercules went to meet King Eurystheus with the lion slung over his shoulder. King Eurystheus was utterly terrified when Hercules, whom he had expected to be killed by the lion, returned unharmed. Hiding in a jar buried in the palace courtyard, the king spoke in a trembling voice.
Hercules, from now on, do not enter the palace. Report to me outside.
After leaving the palace, Hercules skinned the lion with its own claws and wore the hide like armor. The lion's skin served as a shield, blocking swords and arrows, and its toughness made it suitable for armor.
Later, Zeus created a constellation to commemorate Hercules' feat of capturing the lion. That constellation is Leo.
King Eurystheus gave Hercules a second task, to slay the venomous Hydra. The Hydra was a serpent with 9 heads, and its venom was deadly. Astonishingly, if one head was cut off, 2 new heads grew in its place. Moreover, one of the 9 heads possessed an incredible eternal power and could never be destroyed. King Eurystheus believed Hercules could never kill the immortal Hydra and was certain he would not return alive. Unaware of this, Hercules once again set out to find the Hydra. He bravely charged at the Hydra and struck its neck. 2 new heads sprang from the severed neck. Hercules was slightly startled, but struck down once more. But this time, unbelievably, 2 more heads sprouted from the severed neck.
I can't do this alone.
Hercules called for Aeolus' help. This time, he and Aeolus set out together to find the Hydra. Each time Hercules severed a head, Aeolus burned the stump with fire to prevent new heads from growing. Together, they removed 8 heads. But the last head was immortal and could not be killed. Instead of slaying it, Hercules hurled a massive boulder, trapping the Hydra beneath it forever. Later, Hercules dipped his arrows in the Hydra's venom and used them to defeat countless enemies. King Eurystheus commanded the third task, to capture the Cyrenian hind alive. This hind belonged to Artemis, goddess of the moon, and was a very special deer with golden antlers. He gave this task because he believed Artemis would be greatly angered and punish Hercules if he simply killed the deer. Hercules went to capture the doe with the golden antlers. Wow, he was really fast. He was momentarily flustered. But in the end, Hercules accomplished this difficult task too. On the way back to the palace with the doe, he met Apollo and Artemis.
That's my doe. What are you doing?
Artemis, I am only following King Eurystheus' orders. I am currently performing the third of the 12 labors, and the king specifically commanded me to capture this doe alive. After presenting it to King Eurystheus, I will release it as soon as possible. I promise.
Oh, really? Then you absolutely must keep your promise.
Hercules showed the doe to the king and immediately released it. By keeping his promise, he avoided the goddess's wrath. And the very next task was assigned. It was to capture the ferocious Erymanthian boar alive. This boar was so ferocious that it was no wonder people were afraid of it. But our Hercules, he seized the boar in one swift move on the white snow. Having completed the fourth labor, Hercules was immediately given the next task. I'll definitely tell you the story of the fifth labor next time, don't worry.
Eurystheus, the king, wanted to humiliate Hercules, so he gave him a disgusting task: cleaning a filthy stable. Hercules arrived to complete his fifth labor, and the smell was unbelievable. The stable held 300 cows and hadn't been cleaned for 30 years. The manure piled on the floor was thick indeed. It was truly disgusting. Right?
In all my years, I've never seen such a pile of filth. Ugh, this is beyond what any human can handle. Aha!
Hercules had a brilliant idea. He punched 2 holes in the stable walls, drew water from a nearby, and washed away all the filth in one go, easily completing his fifth labor. The sixth labor was to eliminate the Stymphalian birds, and these were no ordinary birds. They had bronze wings and beaks, and they attacked people. But don't worry, the hero Hercules had a secret weapon. It was none other than arrows dipped in the Hydra's venom. Using the Hydra's powerful venom, Hercules was able to eliminate the flock of birds safely. Hercules' seventh labor was to hunt the Cretan bull. This bull was a ferocious beast that had caused great damage onto the island of Crete. To accomplish this task, Hercules went there and met King Minos, who granted him permission to hunt the bull. Hercules displayed tremendous strength and courage, capturing the bull with his bare hands. When he brought the bull to King Eurystheus, it was to be offered as a sacrifice to Hera. However, Hera refused to accept the bull. Ultimately, Hercules released the bull, and later the hero Theseus killed it. The eighth labor was to capture the man-eating mares of King Diomedes. Diomedes enjoyed wrestling and challenged travelers passing through his land to wrestle him. If they lost, he fed them to his horses. When Hercules arrived, Diomedes proposed a wrestling match. The fight was over quickly. Hercules overpowered him and threw Diomedes to the horses. The mares savagely devoured their master, and Hercules brought the horses to Eurystheus. Thus, the 8th labor was completed. Hercules' 9th labor was to retrieve the beautiful girdle of Hippolyte, the queen of the Amazons. Eurystheus had a daughter named Admete, who desperately wanted Hippolyte's girdle. She begged her father for it day after day. Finally, unable to endure his daughter's constant pleading any longer, Eurystheus ordered Hercules to bring back the Amazon queen's girdle as his 9th labor. When Hercules sailed to the land of the Amazons, the warriors welcomed him warmly. Queen Hippolyte herself came out to greet him.
Hero Hercules! Thank you so much for coming such a long way.
Your Majesty, I was sent here to ask for your girdle. Would you be willing to give it to me?
Of course. There's no need to worry. I will bring it to you at once.
However, someone was quietly watching this peaceful scene. That someone was none other than the goddess Hera.
Completing the task so easily? That is absolutely unacceptable.
Consumed by rage, Hera disguised herself as an Amazon warrior, slipped into the crowd, and cried out.
Oh no! This is terrible! Hercules is trying to kidnap our queen! What should we do?
Deceived by Hera's words, the Amazons were thrown into a frenzy. Believing their queen was in danger, they rushed toward Hercules' ship and attacked.
So this was a trap after all. The queen deceived me.
Blinded by anger, Hercules fought back fiercely. In the chaos of battle, Queen Hippolyte was killed, and Hercules seized her girdle by force. Thus, he completed his 9th labor. The 10th labor was to capture the cattle of the monster Geryon. Geryon was a terrifying creature with 3 heads and 3 bodies. To confront him, Hercules had to travel to the island of Erythea, located at the western edge of the world, a journey beyond imagination. To reach this distant land, Hercules needed the golden ship of Helios, the sun god. Raising his bow, he aimed an arrow at the blazing sun and shouted,
Oh, great god Helios, lend me your golden ship, or I will shoot.
Wait, Hercules. Please don't shoot. I'll lend it to you at once.
As Hercules sailed across the sea in Helios' golden ship, massive waves suddenly rose and threatened to overturn it. Hercules calmly aimed his arrow at the sea itself.
If you do not calm these waters, this arrow will fly straight at you.
Startled, Poseidon quickly stilled the waves.
That was close.
Poseidon muttered. Upon arriving at Erythea, a monstrous guard dog lunged at Hercules. With a single swing of his club, the beast fell. The shepherd Eurytion rushed forward next, but he too was struck down instantly. At last, Geryon himself appeared and charged at Hercules with all his might. But Hercules drew his bow and fired arrows poisoned with the venom of the Hydra. One by one, all 3 of Geryon's heads fell. Victorious, Hercules gathered Geryon's red cattle and returned them safely to Eurystheus, thus completing his 10th labor. Hercules' 11th labor was to bring back the golden apples of the Hesperides. The beautiful golden apple tree was a wedding gift given to Hera by the kind and affectionate Gaia on the day she married Zeus. This tree was guarded fiercely in the garden of the Hesperides. Only Nereus, the god of the sea, knew the way to this sacred place. After much hardship, Hercules finally found Nereus and asked for directions. But Nereus told him to seek advice from Prometheus. Prometheus was chained to a rock on Mount Caucasus as punishment, where an eagle flew daily to tear out his liver. Hercules went to the mountain, shot the eagle dead with an arrow, and freed Prometheus from his torment. Freed, Prometheus warned Hercules.
If you attempt to pluck the golden apples yourself, you will face great peril. Instead, go to Atlas. The Hesperides guarding the apples are his daughters. Atlas will gladly assist you.
Taking this advice, Hercules set out to find Atlas. Upon discovering him, Hercules said,
My friend Atlas, you must be weary from holding up the sky all day. Let me bear it for a moment. In return, I would be deeply grateful if you would bring me one golden apple from the Hesperides garden.
Atlas kindly agreed and went to fetch the apple from his daughters. But on his way back, Atlas thought he could entrust the burden of holding up the sky to Hercules forever. When Atlas returned, he said,
I will take this apple to Eurystheus myself. From now on, you hold up the sky. Farewell.
Wait a moment.
What is it?
I'm still unaccustomed to supporting the heavens, and the posture is uncomfortable. Could you adjust it for me? Just one last time?
After a moment's hesitation, Atlas agreed. The moment Atlas lifted the sky back onto his shoulders, Hercules swiftly snatched the golden apple and walked away calmly. Hercules returned the golden apple to Eurystheus, who then dedicated it to the temple of Hera. Hercules' final task was to bring back Cerberus, the fearsome hellhound guarding the underworld. Of course, living people aren't supposed to enter the underworld, and that makes total sense. So first, Hercules traveled to Eleusis to perform the secret rites for Persephone and Demeter. By doing this, he learned how to enter the underworld without dying, which was obviously very important. With the help of Hermes, Hercules finally made his way down into the underworld. Soon, he arrived at the river Styx, where he met the ferryman, Charon. Normally, Charon wouldn't even consider taking a living person across the river. But this time was different. The moment Charon saw Hercules' face, he froze in fear. Terrified but helpless, Charon had no choice but to ferry him across. After crossing the river Styx safely, Hercules continued onward and soon spotted Theseus and Perithous sitting on the chair of oblivion. The two heroes had tried to kidnap Persephone, but instead ended up stuck on the magical chair, which made them forget everything. Poor guys. Feeling sorry for them, Hercules pulled Theseus free from the chair. He then tried to rescue Perithous as well, but suddenly the ground began to shake violently. Realizing he couldn't save him, Hercules was forced to leave Perithous behind. Not long after, Hercules finally met Hades and his wife, Persephone.
Oh, I'm in the middle of completing the tasks given to me by Eurystheus. Would it be okay if I borrowed Cerberus for a moment?
Borrow Cerberus?
Hades replied in shock. After thinking it over, Hades agreed and said,
If you contain Cerberus without using any weapons, you may take him.
Without hesitation, Hercules jumped onto Cerberus's back and grabbed the beast by the neck. After a fierce struggle, Cerberus finally gave up.
I can't believe you managed that without weapons.
Hades exclaimed in amazement. When Hercules brought Cerberus to Eurystheus, The poor king was so frightened that he immediately hid inside a bronze jar.
Enough! The 12 labors are complete. Never come near me again.
And so, Hercules completed all of his labors and finally earned his freedom. The end.